I have to say, NAD packaging is so good that it made me feel like a VIP when I first unboxed the M33 streamer integrated amp. If there's a report card on packaging, man, they would score an A+. The extra step they took to make the interior packaging look so good is something a lot of companies can learn from. The amplifier and the remote are packaged in a nice velvet pouch, giving it a premium feel. I guess this is how Apple iPhone users feel when they unbox their phone. Now this is important for me because if they spend this much energy on just packaging alone, I can be confident they will go above and beyond for the amplifier itself. A genius marketing decision. I have to say, the design is worth another A on the report card. Simple, yet the top vents do give it character. The design team must have taken a course on wife approval factor. You want to increase sales? Make sure your product has a high wife approval factor. Think about it. The M33 is compact and clean looking. Nothing like those big and bulky amplifiers that are the size of a mini fridge. Instead of multiple pieces like a DAC, a streamer, a preamp, and a power amp, and the cables that are guaranteed to look like spaghetti mess, the M33 has everything an audiophile can ask for in one unit. Sure, it might not be able to make you coffee, but everything else, audiophile related, yeah, can. Having said that, sure, it has excellent features and looks, but what about the sound? If a company spends so much energy on the packaging, the design, and the features, do you not think they would give as much, if not more, attention to the sound? Of course it sounds good. There was never a question. What is a question is whether the sound of the amp is to your taste. As I always say, there is no such thing as the best. It is all a question of taste. So, my audio buddies, today let's see if the NAD M33 is your cup of tea. Retail at $5,000 US, the M33 has a lot to offer. This is an integrated amp with streaming capabilities. I love the big touchscreen because I really like seeing the album art whenever I use Tidal Connect. The power button is hidden on top of the touchscreen. One of the best things for me is that it only weighs 10 kilograms. Trust me, man, when you get to my age, you will appreciate that. Comes with MM and MC phono stage, 2 coaxial in, 2 optical in, AES in, XLR in, pre-out, Ethernet jack, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, HDMI in, and dual subwoofer out. As I said, everything an audiophile wants and more. Next, the M33 uses the famous Purify Ignat hybrid digital amp. Sorry if I butchered that pronunciation. Now, for those who don't know about the Purify company, they are known for producing very good sounding Class D amps. The M33 outputs 200 watts into 8 ohm and 300 watts into 4 ohm. If you combine it with the NAD M23, you can run it in bridge mode, which outputs 700 watts in 8 ohm. Next, the unit comes with a mic, so you can use DAC, so you can maximize the performance of this amp in your room specifically. In my room, whenever I use room correction, I notice a slight increase in bass output. The software that comes with the amp is called BluOS, intuitive and easy to use. I like the fact that you can easily access the tone control with this amp. The remote, one of the coolest remote ever. It even lights up in the dark and it is so solid you can use it as a self-defense weapon. This is not one of those cheap plastic remote. You can send someone to the hospital if you throw it at them. The only thing is the remote is also made for their other products. So there are many buttons that don't do anything. It is almost as if they are encouraging you to buy the rest of their other products, so you can use the remote to its full potential. Now next in the box you will find 4 magnetic feet. You don't need them, but for me that is nice because it is going above and beyond. So let's jump to the most important thing, the sound. The The amp uses a purified hybrid digital amp, and from my own experience, digital amps Class D tend to be on the neutral side, and I would say the M33 is neutral-ish. No tilted up treble, nor any significant mid-bass bump. The first thing that caught my attention is that every instrument is distinctively clear. The way I would describe it is, with some amps, when the piano starts, for example, I'm still focused on the singer and the piano is just playing in the background. With the M33, every time a new instrument starts playing, it catches my attention. I think it has something to do with the clarity and soundstage space. You see, the soundstage is interesting. With a tube amp, I can feel air in the soundstage, so it makes the soundstage really big. With the M33, which doesn't have any tubes, I will not say it is airy like a tube amp, but the soundstage has good space and is holographic. The ability to recreate the room is very impressive. A soundtrack I listen to often is Mad About You from Hooverphonic. Now, there are two versions, the original and the orchestra version. The orchestra version gives a retro vibe and at the same time majestic. I use it often to test if the amp can recreate the ambience and the feel of the hall. Try it with the lights closed, and if you have a very capable system like the M33, you will be transported to that hall. The M33 does an amazing job of this, and I can easily imagine myself attending the performance. Even with a simple song like California Dreaming from Diana Krall, I was surprised with how the M33 renders the space between the singer and the instruments. And this is coming from someone who has owned a lot of tube amps, which are known for creating a fantastic airy soundstage. Another thing that caught my attention, the top end decay is quite extended, which I believe is part of the contributing factor to why I'm able to imagine the 3D soundstage easily. Now, I know Class D amps or digital amps are known for the holographic soundstage, but I guess it has reached a point today where, although not exactly like tubes, it's not far from tubes. Next, in the past, I always felt the dynamics and bass punch of the Class D or digital amps were a bit lacking. Now, how things have changed again. The M33 has good dynamic contrast, so it is exciting to listen to. You know, some amps sounds flat and anemic. Man, with the M33, not at all. When the bass hits, it hits harder and extends slightly deeper than many of my other amps. Now, digital amps have always been known to have a good control when it comes to bass, and the M33 excels at that. Speed and bass control, man, numero uno.
Just a brief interruption, esteemed viewers. As you may know, I'm Tom Martin, Chief Content Officer of The Absolute Sound. We have a new product. It's on the Substack platform, and we're going to do some interesting things with Substack. First of which is reader questions and answers. Each Monday, readers will submit questions. We'll pick the most interesting ones and we'll answer the questions on Friday. We'll also have early access to articles and special blogs that don't appear anywhere else. We hope you'll join us. It's only a cost of a cup of coffee per month. Just check on the screen or in the show notes below. Thanks, and now back to the show.
Okay, so let's switch gear and talk about the things you should pay attention to if you are considering this amp. The mid-range is more about clarity. Now, for some of you, you might wish it had a bit more warmth. And if you're one of those who want a smooth mid-range with extra butter, yeah, this might not have enough butter for you. Now, this is a question of taste because some of you would prefer it to be neutral and clean like the M33. Well, you can always color the mid-range if you want with the help of tone control. I was able to make the amp smoother with the help of tone control. Next, the M33 does not have USB input, so if you plan to connect your computer to it, you have to use either optical or coaxial. Interestingly, I did an A/B test between optical and network streaming with Tidal Connect with the M33, and I found streaming sounded better than optical, more air, and the bass hits harder. If that is important for you, keep that in mind. Next, although the amp is dynamic, some of you might wish it had a bit more fat or weight in the bass region. Now, if you're used to Macintosh amps like me, you'll notice that M33's bass is more, I guess the word would be linear. The analogy I use all the time is Class D or digital amp basses like Bruce Lee, quick, precise, and strong. Well, my Macintosh is more like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now, I do want to make sure you don't misunderstand me. Now, let me tell you a story. At the 2023 Montreal Audio Show, Dali was demoing their top-of-the-line $100,000 speaker in a room that was about 1,200 square feet. And they were driving it with the M33 and the M23. M23 is basically just the power amp section of M33. And I remember when they played that song, Make Us Stronger by Ghost Rider, I could feel the vibration at the door outside the room. Yeah, I was outside the room. Now, this NAD amps can deliver impressive bass. So let's wrap it up at this point and let's talk about the elephant in the room. Well, for audiophiles, Class D and digital amps. I think I was one of the first to make videos embracing Class D on YouTube years ago. And I was not shy to point out the issues with Class D. It can be a bit dry, the upper mid-range can be a little bit thin, and the power rating seems to be over-exaggerated. Now, what I mean is a Class D amp can be rated as 500 watt, but my Class AB 100 watt amplifier can deliver more bass slam. However, this is in the past. In fact, the last few years, Class D I've tried had incredible bass slam, and this M33 mid-range voice has a really strong presence. So for those who are still living in the Stone Age and think Class D is only good for cheap home theater receivers, you might want to give it a try. To finish it off, let's talk about who this amp is for. You are someone who just want to enjoy the music right away without needing to spend time mixing and matching components in order to get the best synergy. You just want one component because you like the minimalistic look and you don't like cable mess. You value the user experience where everything is easy and accessible with a simple app. You tend to prefer a neutral over a warm presentation, but with the options to tweak. Your room is less than ideal, so you need room correction to optimize the sound. Next, you need a unit to run cool, and you hate paying expensive electric bills. Finally, you want a solid remote control for self-defense purposes. Alright guys, I think that's about it, and I will see you next time.